This is it. Throttle down! Throttle down! Mr. Cameron, you don't have to.
Make another avatar.
Why don't you just go back to your house in Malibu? Go work on.
Purging the testosterone from your body. You know when you commit to something a month in advance and by the time it rolls around, you're not really feeling it anymore. Back when I reacted to the trailer, someone in the comment section actually gave me an out and suggested I react to a more recent trailer, but I told them that I would rather save my energy for actually reviewing the movie. Well, it's a month later and I'm still getting CGI fatigue from the last movie I watched at the cinema. Come to think of it, I've also got blue semen fatigue from the last movie I watched at the cinema as well. Blue people seem quite trendy at the moment. The Blue Man Group should complete the rule of 3 and just drop an album.
I'm afraid I just blew myself.
To be quite frank with you, I wasn't really in the mood and I've had thoughts of putting this review off, but Husbando reminded me that I actually have a goal of seeing things through to their conclusion. With his toxic masculinity, he helped me build up the fortitude to put myself through this movie. Thanks a lot, mate. So, I got mentally ready. Now, many people, to prepare for this long-awaited sequel, would have refreshed their memories by watching the first film. I opted not to do that, however, because I really wanted to get the pure message and vision of James Cameron now that he's purged all the testosterone out of his system. I didn't want to be tainted by reminders of his past work. I dug to the core of myself and really did the inner work. I made sure that any inspiration that I may have gleaned from Sarah Connor that lured me to the delusion that absolutely anybody has the tools inside of them to save humanity at most, and at the very least, be part of something bigger than yourself and be the catalyst to something exceptional, needs to be seen as the toxicity that it is. And it absolutely cannot tarnish my judgment of this movie. Also, and more importantly, the runtime of the first movie and the runtime of the second movie, minus the life force I actually have to dedicate to this process, and I concluded
2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3, quick maths.
that I couldn't be asked to watch it. Your boy Jimmy dumbed it down nicely and caught us all up in the first few minutes in a manner similar to a phone call from your mom to catch you up on gossip about her neighbor, Jake Sully, and how he and his tribe told all the humans to get off his planet, figured out how to use the dong on his new body, and made a couple of sons and a daughter. The movie also wants us to remember that Sigourney Weaver was in the last film and really wants her to be in this one, so they gave her a mystery kid who Jake Sully is also raising as his own. Mystery kid has some sort of special power of super adaptability, I guess. So yes, that's a thing. Also, there's a feral white kid. You know, I'm really glad the kid from the music video for Freestyler is all grown up and still getting work.
Freestyler.
Anyway, they've got a family situation going on that Vin Diesel himself would be proud of. All of a sudden, the humans rocked up again, and they are not on a mission of peace. Also, the cartoonish army villain from the last movie is back, but this time he's a Na'vi clone. You know, it's all very somehow Palpatine returned. Oh, and because he's a clone, he's got the exact same goal as 13 years ago. I guess it is kind of lazy to not come up with a new antagonist, but do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior, CGI? Okay, that's not fair. I mean, the bad guys' plans aren't exactly the same, because they've leveled up somewhat, and they're back to take the whole planet this time, because as it turns out, unobtainium, actually not that hard to obtain. The human attacks on the Na'vi have been unsuccessful so far as they weren't adapted to the environment, but now that Army Guy is a hybrid clone, their odds are better. We find this all out through expository dialogue by a character that was introduced to us like she was going to be important but wasn't, in a scene that wasn't really of note. But there is one thing I wanted to bring to your attention. It's this. What the hell is this? So anyway, Army Guy and his crew go into the jungle to see what's going on, but at the same time, son number 2 has persuaded his sister, mystery girl and feral white kid to go to a forbidden part of the jungle because he's defiant. It's the bulk of his character, literally, he's defiant. It's a double whammy because it also serves as a plot device. Others are like, oh no, we shouldn't be here, we'll get in so much trouble with Dad, but they go with him anyway. Oh, and the forbidden part is a set piece from the first movie, so something nostalgia bait. While they're there, they end up getting captured by the army bad guys because, of course they did. The parents come to the rescue, but feral white kid gets taken by Army Guy. Oh, by the way, Army Guy is Feral White Kid's dad, kind of. Jake Sully decides he and his family should leave the tribe to take the heat off everyone else, so they just pack up and move to the seaside. You see them journey through the world and you get a nice peep at the landscape and the rolling oceans and the waves of CGI. It's all very, very nice. Army Guy tries to get pally with his not son, and the Sullys end up settling with the tribe, but they have to earn their place. Because not only are they not full Na'vi, but the bodies aren't fit for the environment. On top of that, the Sea Tribe seem to know the chain of events in the first movie, so they're aware that the Sullys are running from Sky People. Despite all that, they let them stay and learn their ways. People make bonds, and Mystery Girl figures out she can just vibe under the water for ages and control fish with hand movements. It's all very magical, and you can't spell magical without C, G, and I. While Jake is learning to ride in a different environment to fit in with the tribe and make himself useful, Army Guy's also learning to ride, as learning the ways of the Na'vi would up his chances in his hunt for Jake. You know, the way they plug themselves into the animals is a bit weird. It seems the animals don't want it either. Anyway, Mystery Girl gets bullied by some boys because it's always the ones that shine brightest that get the most flack. You know, that reminds me of someone.
I'ma go Galadriel. Yeah, I love Galadriel.
Sorry.
Son number 2, the defiant one, defends his sister and starts a fight, but the boy he beat up is actually the tribe leader's son, so he's made by Jake Sully to apologize. Son 2 does apologize to the boys, but they trick him instead by luring him out of bounds and abandoning him. And the tribe leader's son seems to know there's a dangerous Na'vi eating fish in the area, so he's basically just leaving son number 2 for dead. Kids, am I right? Son number 2 gets chased by the fish tries to eat him. The CGI, the music kind of sounds like Jaws, and it's all very exciting. And then, at 0 hour, a CGI whale saves his life. Son 2 and the hero whale have a how to train your dragon moment, and they become besties. CGI. Mystery Girl tells Jake Sully she can feel Sigourney Weaver's presence because they really, really want her to be in this movie. Son 2 tells everyone about his new friend, but everyone tells him his new aquatic bestie is bad news. So while son number 2 goes back to his new friend to have a word with him about his reputation, Mystery Girl, for some reason, goes and mainlines the spirit tree. She has a trip where she sees Sigourney Weaver, because remember, she's in the film. Unfortunately, the awesomeness of Sigourney Weaver is too much for Mystery Girl, and she has a seizure and passes out. They call a scientist doctor in, and he tells them that Mystery Girl injecting the spirit tree right into her dome is actually making her sick, and she needs to stop doing it or she'll die. They finally wake up Mystery Girl by breathing on her, I don't know. Now, because they call the doctor in, Army Guy is able to get a better idea of their location. He's also bonding a bit with his not son. Army Guy and his crew commandeer a research boat, and they set off for the island that the Sullys are on. The 2 research guys aren't too happy with the situation, but the movie says they're bad and the check's cleared, so they don't really put up too much of a fight.
Well, if you can't get out of it, get into it.
You know, the human representation has been niggling at me since the beginning of this movie. Why?
Because of the implication.
What's the implication, I hear you ask? Well, you see, I notice all the humans in this film are of a certain demographic. And when I look at this through the lens that Hollywood has been uplifting, I can't help but wonder what the situation on Earth is. All the humans that came back seem to be white and mostly male. Do black people exist on Earth in this narrative, or have they all moved to Wakanda? Or shall I incorporate the fact that they said earlier in the film that Earth is dying and really consider the implication? I'd be interested in a spin-off that explains what's happening on Earth. Because if this is happening in Pandora, what's the situation on Earth and why is everybody white?
Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
Now, I personally don't care about this stuff. But you, Hollywood law, have been saying for years that you do care about this stuff. And then you go and erase me in your film, Jimmy. Bro, I thought you had my back.
Why would they diss me? I thought they were my homies.
Also, unrelated, but seeing Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords in this movie saddens me a little. He's a hilarious dude, but they don't even bother giving him a character in this film. They kind of build up the narrative that he's not happy with the situation, and you kind of expect him to grow a little backbone at some point in the movie, but he doesn't. Back at the Seaside Tribe, a herd of CGI whales have come to visit. The CGI whale tribe have super intelligence and a rich but random backstory because why not? They're CGI and it's all very pretty. Meanwhile, Army Guy is a little bit closer to finding Jake. He burns down a neighboring village to send a message to Jake, and the message does reach him soon enough. Then Army Guy has a big idea to hunt a CGI whale to lure him out. Son number 2 and his CGI whale friend have a connection, making it one of the rare times, or probably the only time in this movie that the animal actually consents. Turns out that by connecting to the animals, you actually get a download of their memories, so now son number 2 has the whale's PTSD, and they're even bigger besties. Son number 2 gets in trouble for bonding with an outcast, because apparently the whale tribe have a no-killing policy, so the outcast whale was seen as bad because his family got killed by the sky people, which is the humans, and he avenged their deaths. So a species of super intelligent animals who have no want for self-preservation. Sure, okay, why not? Meanwhile, the Army Guy has tracked down the mother CGI whale and proceeds to hunt it. They really mean business as well. Like, they have the technology, it's the future, and they're not messing about. They're gonna find that whale, and judging by the technology, they're gonna give that whale a knuckle sandwich, I presume. Not one to shy away from taking an L, I will point out that the movie debunks my only white people on Earth theory, and we're finally shown a human who isn't white. Unfortunately, that human is Asian, and she is a definite asset in the whaling expedition. I mean, look at her. She's really into it.
Fuck you, whale!
Anyway, they kill the mother whale and everybody claps, except for Feral White Kid and Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords. We find out the reason Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords is so sulky all the time is because he's trained his entire life and racked up debt to become a marine biologist, but he uses his hard-earned skill to hunt CGI whales to get the special goo in their brain that stops aging. Like, stops it. This stuff is like unobtainium, but it's different. But it's kinda not, and it's super unethical, but he has to do it, guys. It's the only way he can fund his research. One harvest of brain goo would make them about $80 million, and my crash course on inflation over the last couple of years has taught me that $80 million in the future probably isn't a lot. I wonder how many whales they'd have to kill every month just to break even. I'm gonna guess somewhere between a fuck and a ton. Don't worry about it though, because one day when that research leads to a major breakthrough in human achievement, everyone's going to benefit. But they will never ever truly know what Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords sacrificed for them. Pandora might have an inkling because other animals will be on the endangered species list, but Earth, they'd be grateful to have immortality on a dead planet, unless the goo actually gives the Earth immortality. They don't really explain any of this, and I'm not about to write this dude's movie for him. Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords, as he shoves a drill into the whale's skull through its mouth, to later extract the liquid MacGuffin from its brain with a giant needle to make anti-aging serums, but leaving the rest of its body to rot in the ocean. Marvels at the spirituality and intelligence of the creature. He's aware of the immorality of what he's doing, and it drives him to drink. Oh, the choices we have to make for the greater good, eh? You know, I've not seen a compromise this big since Jennifer Lawrence made besties with Harvey Weinstein so she could be the first ever woman to exist. Thank you for your service, Jennifer Lawrence. Your knees must hurt. Moving on, the Watanabe have discovered the whale's dead body and they're obviously upset. Not only was that whale the Queen's spirit sister, she was a sick producer as well. She was working on this fire mixtape, but it's never going to be released now. Its death is just a major tragedy. It sends a shockwave through the community and they realize the trouble is on their doorstep, finally. You know the Sea Tribe, they kind of look funny when they're riled up. You're supposed to feel loss and rage along with them, but then you look over at them and you see this.
There'll be no accusations, just friendly crustaceans under the sea.
I mean, I guess it could have been worse. they could have had them make monkey noises. Another thing that stood out to me in this part of the movie is the tribe leader acknowledging in his speech that they're aware that another tribe got their village burned and they did nothing about it because it happened far away. But now that it's affecting them directly, I guess it's time to do something. I don't know, that doesn't make him seem smart, because if a house down my street got broken into, I wouldn't ignore it until I got burgled before I did something about it. I would keep an eye on the situation and beef up my security. But the film needs to go on for another hour, so here we are. Jake Sully convinces the Sea Tribe that it's a trap and it would be better for them to focus on saving the whales. But Mrs. Sully is convinced that they should fight. Son number 2 wants to warn his whale bestie about the Sky People, but son number 1 tries to stop him. Son number 1 is always trying to stop son number 2 from doing stupid stuff and getting into trouble. That's literally the bulk of his character. Son number 2 has a hissy fit, says he's not perfect like son number 1, so he goes off in a huff, and son number 1 and the others follow him. On their way, they find a whale that's under attack, so they call Jake Sully for help. So now everybody has to fight because one of their own is being attacked. So off they go for the big final battle. Army guy sees Jake Sully's kid trying to save the whale, and he can't believe his luck. He manages to capture son number 2, daughter, and princess after a very tense chase scene. Very CGI. Jake Sully and his crew turn up. The army guy tells him to come alone if he ever wants to see his kids again. Jake tells the tribe leader that he should go alone because this has been about him the whole time. And remember earlier when the tribe leader, the queen, seemed aware of Jake Sully and the fact that he's running away from the Sky People because they literally acknowledge it earlier in the movie. The moment the other tribe got their village burnt down, they should have done the math. And you know, it's not like the tribe is completely stupid. They see the facts, they know what the correct course of action should be, but for some reason they just go, skirt! Miss me with that. Surely there's got to be a better way to further the plot. But the queen goes all Pikachu face and she's all, "You brought this to us." And Jake's reaction here is actually quite priceless. It screams, "Duh bitch, where have you been?" Anyway, off Jake Sully goes to meet Army Guy by himself. While this is happening under the water, son number 2's whale best friend sees everything unfolding on the surface and decides to jump up and just fuck the boat up. And for some reason, this causes everyone to jump in and start fighting, despite the deal that was just made. The CGI battle scene commences. Things blow up and the guns go. Under the water, the submarine baddies are chasing Mystery Girl, but she's able to use a water bending to destroy them. Feral White Kid takes the opportunity to sabotage things further for the baddies while he's inside the boat, and for a while things are looking positive. Son number 1 saves all the kids that were captured, and they could have made it out, but son number 2 wants to save Feral White Kid. Then the kids who have just been freed from their captivity, they see Mystery Girl get captured, so they have to go back for her. So now all of the kids are on a sinking boat with the main bad guy. Son number 1 and son number 2 rescue Feral White Kid, but son number 1 gets shot. They take son 1 back to Jake Sully, but they're unable to save him. And you know, I'm not completely dead on the inside. I actually thought this scene was well done. If your boy Jimmy can do something, it's tug at your heartstrings. Army Guy rudely interrupts the grieving through Jake's walkie-talkie thing to tell him that all his other kids are with him, and he really should pop round if he wants to see them again. Feral White Kid tells Jake Sully about the secret entrance to the Army Guy's boat, and they set off on a rescue mission. Jake Sully tells son 2 to stay behind with his dead brother's body, but he hasn't learned anything, so he disobeys his dad. Again. Jake Sully is able to successfully use the secret entrance to ambush the bad guys, and there's a fight scene. CGI. Mrs. Sully is smashing it with the arrow and things are going pretty well. They beat up the baddies and then they get to the main bad guy, but unfortunately he's got a knife over Mystery Girl's throat. Feral White Kid runs in and Mrs. Sully grabs him and puts a knife across his throat. Army Guy tries to play it off like he doesn't care, but he does and lets Mystery Girl go. Mrs. Sully starts to leave with the kids, but Jake Sully stays back to fight with Army Guy, mano el mano. But something blows up, so there's a wall of fire blocking everyone's entrance, so they're all trapped on the sinking boat. It's kinda like Titanic, but with better CGI and aliens. The boat flips upside down, so they're all completely trapped and they get separated. Feral White Kid and Mystery Girl make it outside the boat, but everybody else is still trapped inside. Jake is still fighting Army Guy, and finally he chokes him out underwater and leaves him to die. Unfortunately, because Jake can't find an exit, he also runs out of oxygen and starts to drown. On the surface, son number 2 is turned up and they all go on a rescue mission. Mystery Girl calls her fish friends to Rudolph her through the boat. Son number 2 finds his dad and takes him away. Feral White Kid also finds his dad and almost leaves him but doesn't. They make it outside, but the Sullys are still inside. The boat is running out of air and it's about to sink to the bottom of the ocean and it's all very tense. But at the last minute, Mystery Girl turns up with a light up fish friends and she's able to light her way to the exit. Everyone survives and it's super CGI emotional. Don't know what happened to the Water Tribe people though. Doesn't really come up. Army guy washes up on a rock. Asks Feral White Kid to go with him but he refuses and goes back to the Sullys. Jake Sully takes in Feral White Kid, says, "A son for a son." Like, hey, my son's dead, so you're his replacement now. Savage. They have a funeral for son number 1 and it's all very sad CGI. The Sea Tribe come back briefly to fully accept the Sullys as one of their own, and they're able to mainline the spirit tree to visit their dead kid whenever they want. And Jake's like, yeah, we're sea people now. The end. That's it. That's the movie. I kind of have mixed feelings about this film. Because it's not like it's bad, but it's definitely not a masterpiece. The CGI obviously looks good, but it's not enough to carry a movie, especially one of that length. In the near future, technology is going to surpass this film and it's going to be forgotten, just like the last one. The story isn't the worst thing in the world. I like aspects of it, like the portrayal of the family and the different dynamics of the members, but I can't help but wonder if this has anything to do with our standards being lowered significantly over the years. Because when you expect something crap, getting something mediocre would seem like you got something genius, right? Doing something as bare minimum as portraying a pretty normal family could be mistaken as good storytelling. I feel like Hollywood's been sat in a metaphorical darkened room sniffing its own farts for a long time. And finally, they've cracked open the curtain to let in a bit of sunlight. Like, wait, what if I just try to tell a good story? I mean, I still want to say that humans are very bad, but what if I tried a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down? I think they're slowly starting to realize that the tactics they've been employing aren't working, so they're making a U-turn very slowly. Unfortunately, it's been so long that their writing muscles atrophied, so they're gonna have to build that muscle up again. And no amount of money or CGI can replace good storytelling, so they should probably keep that in mind. But while this makes me very low-key optimistic that this could be a turning point, I realize that not shoehorning real-life politics into works of fiction is the equivalent of using lube once in a lifetime of shafting, so I'm not holding my breath. Did I hate this film? No. I honestly wish I had, because then I would have felt something. It felt like a very expensive plate with a high-definition picture of a feast on it. I could appreciate the feast for the eyes, yeah, but there wasn't a morsel for the soul.
What's a good plate with nothing on it?
Meaning?
I actually came out of the cinema feeling empty and drained, despite the fact I'd just watched a 3-hour film. Honestly, if I wasn't making a video about it, I would have forgotten I'd seen it and just carried on with my life. Do I think this film will make the $2 billion it needs to break even? It's made just under $500 million on its opening weekend, so honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is, it's making a killing in India. Am I excited about the 4 more movies apparently coming down the pipeline? No, I'm not. Am I gonna see it? Probably. I don't have much more to say about it. I'm actually starting to bore myself, so I think I'll just leave it here. If you've seen the movie, do you think I'm making a good point, or are you pointing at your computer screen and shouting?
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak. Thanks.
Let me know in the comments if you want. Till next time.